No, thank you.
Okay. Welcome back, folks.
Sorry.
John, did you have a question on this before we move on?
I had and I forget.
That's
Come
okay.
back to me.
That's okay. Kevin?
Oh yeah, sorry. This is probably irrelevant, but the percentages are only an analogy, are they? Or do they come from somewhere specific?
Think about this this way, right?
Yeah.
In level 1, from the moment you're birth, you have been using a persona. And you've been paying a heavy price for that.
Yeah.
And the more you use the persona, the more you become disempowered. So the average person unconsciously, spiritually asleep in the world would be very weak. It means that they would be under 10%. It means that for every 9 decisions they're making, or 10 decisions they're making, 9 of them being made by the ego.
Yeah.
So the whole point of this need not be.
Mhm.
You don't need the ego to make you a better person. You don't need the ego to make you a good person. You don't need the ego to make you a special person. You're bloody very special because of who you are. You're eternal, you're immortal, you know, look at all the things. You're indestructible, you're a creator, you've been made in the image of God, like God. Now, you know, I don't care what anybody wants. There's nothing in this world that comes close to that, is there?
No.
You know, so when you look at all of this, like the ego, what the ego's offering is nothing. So at this level, when I've been working with people, they never realized how much of the persona that they're using. They never had a clue. They had always identified, this is my, I'm a fixer, it means I'm a, you know, this is my enneagram, you know, I'm a fixer, as if this is a good thing. Do you know? You know, I'm a carer. I'm a giver. These are not the personality compartments. These are the persona compartments that everybody's buying into. Because the ego's sucking the life out of people. So when they start saying no, what happens is the personality now, you have this inner strength. It's coming from the higher self. Because the higher self and the personality are really one. Because the higher self that chose the personality have this experience. When you're in your personality, you can basically communicate with your higher self. It'll be weak at this level, but when you're here, you're also here.
Inspiration.
Exactly.
That,
Inspired,
yeah.
in spirit.
Mm.
Here's in spirit. Here's in the world, in the body. So the percentages are about this. It's like, you know, when you take a decision to a board meeting, you kind of need a 2/3 majority. All right. So this is about the 2/3. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's not exact percentages, don't get me wrong, but I only put that in to give people the idea of how weak they are and how much they need to get back to. Because it's like this, how strong is your personality? Very easy to work out. The moment a crisis hits, who jumps, who answers, who reacts? Do you know? And that shows you who's in charge. So it's easy to be charged. The ego lets you think you're in charge when everything's going the way you want them to go. Oh, you're such a great person. Look at all those great decisions you're making. You're pulling everything off. And then, bang. Do you know? So again, that people buy into that. So the ego will allow you to believe that you're anything you want, as long as it's not the truth. Okay? So that brings us now, we're going to move on. And what we're going to get to is the facts of life. All right? So what we have already did the rules. And we have did the strategies. Both the ego strategies and God's strategy. And right there.
Underneath, beside the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And today what we're going to do is the facts. And then also what we're going to do, if we have time, responsibilities. And all these rules, all the strategies, all the facts, and all the responsibilities are in this book. Okay? So, let's deal with the facts. Now, or let's go back here for a second to explain this. The rules are basically you can apply by the rules or you can not apply by the rules. The rules are kind of like the rules of the road. When you get to a certain place, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. If you do this, is what's going to happen. The strategies then are down to choice. Okay? You can basically be aware of you're going this journey with the ego, or you can choose God's strategy. See, God's not cruel in all of this. Okay? He didn't give us a Course in Miracles and then tell us it's going to take 1,000 years to work it all out. Okay? Genesis basically makes it easy for us to understand the rules, the strategies, the facts, and the responsibilities. So let's get to the facts. Okay? So the first fact is this. You have a responsibility to know the facts. In other words, you must learn how the ego works. Knowledge is power, especially on level 1. The ego has no answer to it. The more you know about the ego, the more power you will have, the less power the ego will have. Okay? So, the first fact is this. It is a fact that when you engage with the ego, in either the persona or the shadow, your mind will be split. And what does that mean?
Confusion.
Conflict. Doubt. Uncertainty. It's now, will it go this way? Will it go this way? Will it do this? Will it do this? Okay? Indecision is an effect of choosing the ego or choosing to be on level 1. In other words, it's this. You are never sure of anything. Why is that so important to the ego to have you that way?
Keeps you seeking.
And it also, you never have the full picture.
Yeah.
Because no matter what part you're in, you're out of the other half. So you're never whole. The only time that you're completely whole is here, at level 3. At this level, you're never sure of anything. And it's a fact that when you're on this level, your mind will be split. And if your mind's in conflict, it's another fact that you're going to blame somebody for it, even yourself. Next one. If it is a fact that if you embrace any part of the persona, you have asked for and chosen all of the ego. Okay? So that means if you have a special person in your life, the special love, okay, you have asked for fear, you have asked for lack, you've asked to be a victim. And what Jesus says very clearly in the Bible 2,000 years ago, and he says it in the Course, ask and you will receive. So it's a fact that if you ask anything from the ego, you will take all of it and you will receive all of the shadow. It's a fact that once you give energy to the persona, you give energy to the shadow to hurt you. And what everybody's trying to do is to give energy to the persona, okay, willingly. And what happens is when the shadow comes in, then they blame everybody else for it. No responsibility. Okay? If you're going to be on level 1, you need to know the facts. And the fact is that I'm going to be in a lot of pain and I have a choice. I can blame myself or other people, or I can take responsibility without blame, which will take me to level 2.
That's if you're not observing what's happening in your head, in your thoughts. If you're able to observe that.
Where?
In your thought, in your mind. What your ego is doing. Is that a false ego or a false thing?
Well, you see here,
Yeah.
it is the only place that you can possibly say no. You can't be an observer. There's no observer on level 1.
Right.
The only place you can look at the ego completely is from level 2. Here is the observer at level 3. You see, here's judgment, here's non-judgment, and here's without judgment. Without judgment is the observer. So, to get to that point, for you to practice to be the observer, you need to be here. So what that means is when someone comes to a story with you, or a drama, your job is to give them the answer without basically picking a side, without choosing right or wrong, or good or bad, or anything in between. And when you can do that, you're coming from the observer. You can look at the story, and you can see the metaphysics in the story. Now that's coming from truth. Yeah? Or you can look at the story with the ego, and you will pick a side, and you will tell the other person they're a victim or they're a victimizer.
But then you're straight into the row.
Well, you're in the story.
In the story, yeah.
So you can practice with people coming to you with stories is listen to the story with all your heart, but see the movement underneath. See the metaphysics.
A special relationship with my wife, 47 years. She can still goad me.
Who have you a special relationship with?
My wife.
No, you don't.
No. Well, I love her. Or do I?
Jesus.
Buy her flowers regularly.
Who have you a special relationship with?
Yeah, I said too much now.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
You know what I'm saying is
you
look-
don't have a special relationship with your wife.
No?
No. You don't have special relationships with people.
Oh, with yourself? Yeah.
No.
No.
You see, when you're here,
Yeah.
this mindset, this energy is oneness. Okay? When you're down here, all right, this is the ego. Your special relationship is with the ego. Because you have a relationship with the ego, you naturally don't want to be in the bad room. You're in the good room. And now you're going to meet special people in there. Aren't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
So your wife is one of those special people that you met in the good room and keep her in the good room, which keeps you in the good room.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, exactly. But the point I'm making here, as long as you remain on level 1, you're always going to have good people, bad people, special people. Not.
Yeah.
They're not the problem. They're the problem with this level, all right.
But I don't, what I'm saying is I don't get angry, I don't react anymore.
Well, that's the worst thing you can do,
Not to react.
because you'll see one of these facts.
I'm watching, I
No.
can see it happening. Yeah.
No,
Sorry.
you see, the ego's answer to forgiveness is this, is not to react. It's your reactions that will point to the truth. What happens is this, John. Your mind, you're in a state of denial, you're unconscious, which means there's thoughts in there that you're not aware of. In metaphysics terms, what happens now is this is denial, suppression, rejection, reaction. Let's say you stop reacting.
Yeah.
What the fuck good's that to you? You're in a state of denial
Well,
already.
mentally-
No, whoa. You're in a state of denial already.
Yeah.
You've suppressed it. You projected it out. You've reacted to it, which tells you it belongs to you.
Yeah.
And now you go back to deny it again, which means you go through the whole thing again. And again. And again. You see, it's the ego's answer to forgiveness. The whole point of this is for you to project, to react, so you can look at the story, get into the metaphysics, and find the thought that's keeping you asleep. That's the way I work with everybody. You know, it's not about you not reacting and pretending that you're a good boy. That's what everybody's doing, is doing the course. You know, everybody was in the bad room for the last 2,000 years with guilt. Jesus comes along with the Course in Miracles, puts everybody into the good room, and now you can't get them out of it. Something ironic in all of that, isn't it? Like, you know? So let's stick with facts. It is a fact that there's no present moment on level 1. It doesn't exist. Bliss does not exist on level 1. There's no space for it. There's no thought on level 1 in the ego thought system that has anything to do with truth, bliss, the now, or the present moment. It is a fact that while you're on level 1, you will always be in lack. It could be the lack of love, the lack of money, the lack of peace. Doesn't matter. Because you could have enough money, you won't have a lack of peace. You could have enough of this, you'll have a lack of this. You could have enough of that. No matter what it is, everybody in this world is in lack. You look at the guy who had 50 billion. He wanted 60, he got it. He has 70 now billion. Seek more, more, more. The guy will never be happy because he has always a lack that's feeding that greed for more, more, more. And the problem with that 70 billion, it doesn't belong to him. He might think he does, and the world might think he does, but it doesn't belong to him. Who does it belong to? No, it belongs to all of us. Everything in this world is here to be shared by all of us equally. And when you have a guy that has 70 billion, and what is money in this world is debt. If there's no money in this world, there's no debt. So that guy has 70 billion, and here he's living in whatever, and here we have another part of the world where 50% of it is living less than $1 a day. Starvation. When that guy goes back to the spiritual universe, the equation has to be balanced. Jesus called it 2,000 years ago, doing your sums. So if that guy's got 70 billion of debt, of lives, that have to be accounted for. So how long and how many lives is that guy going to have to do of being what he has given? The equation has to be balanced. You see, one of the facts of this world is everything here is oneness. It's a fact. But this mind lets us believe that it's not. It's kill or be killed. You know, all praise to the people who get to the top, even if you tramp over everybody else to get there. Great fella, well done. You know, that's not what life is. The fact of this is, if you lead a life of taking and taking and taking from people without giving anything, the fact is you have to balance that equation in your next lifetime and every lifetime after that until the sums have totaled. It's karma. It's cause and effect. What you give is what you receive. So if you give death to people, 70 billion worth of it, what's going to happen? What are you going to receive? Exactly what you give. You see, the people in this world who have all the money, all the riches, all the wealth, have a very important lesson to learn. That the reason why they have that is they wrote scripts to have that wealth. And in everybody's script is choice. Now some people have a lot of money and they are willingly giving it all away. They've made all of this money, they're out there, and they're giving this money to help the world. And there are people out there who have the money and they're keeping it for themselves. Okay? And this is not right or wrong or good or bad. Okay? We have to rise above this. Okay? We have to look at what's true and what's not true.
Without blame. Is that...
Exactly.
Can I just ask one question? You know that song John Lennon wrote, Imagine?
Yeah.
Do you think that came from...
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Listen to the words.
Yeah. So everything you're saying is in that
Yeah,
song.
it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a fact that while you're on level 1, you will perceive only separation. The perception of oneness is impossible. It is a fact on level 1, in the level 1 thought system, that all thoughts belong to the ego. This is very important. When you say to someone, I think, first thing you should say is, where am I? I'm at level 1. Okay, I don't think. Okay, there's no thought system for you. Jesus calls this, there's no private thoughts. Okay, so there's no place for you to think. You're either thinking with God or you're thinking with the ego. It's a fact. All right? And that's important to know, because as long as you keep thinking that you that's thinking, the ego's going to allow you to keep thinking that it's you that's thinking. And you're going to be screwed. It's a fact that you cannot take thoughts and ideas from level 1 into level 2. You will be pulled back down because ideas leave not their source. All of these thoughts will return and you with it. It is a fact that it is only your thoughts, which are your attachments, that's keeping you on level 1. And the job of the spiritual seeker is to find those thoughts, those attachments. Because if level 1's a thought system and level 2's a thought system, it makes sense that you cannot take these thoughts into that thought system, and these thoughts cannot come into this thought system, which means is you have to choose which thought system you want to be a part of. It is a fact, and this is by the ego's laws, as long as you are on level 1, you will project and react all of the time. It's impossible that you cannot. You can deny your reactions, which the ego loves. And the way we deny our reactions is we rationalize them. See, the other thing I want to point out is this. On level 1, we were doing the 2 thought systems. Here we have truth. Okay? There's no truth in level 1, you know that. What's truth in level 1? Rationalization. Everything that you believe is the truth on level 1 is a rationalization. That's a fact. Because this thought cannot enter this thought system. And here, you might have the thought that you're a victim. And you might want to get to here. Well, that thought, there's no place for this thought. That thought has no meaning up there. It cannot stay there. Victimizer can't go up here. So these thoughts cannot enter this thought system, and these thoughts cannot. Now they can come in, but they can't stay. So it's kind of like, John, you might be doing the workbook lesson, and you might be reading the thoughts that Jesus says in the workbook lesson, and you would think, oh, they were wonderful. Ah, just love that. And the next thing you go out for a walk and you come back, they're gone. Why are they gone? Because you're here. They belong here. They're going to go back because the ego's going to keep them out. There's no place for them. Do you know? And this is why all people who are doing the lessons forget the lessons. You can hold on to it for a little while, but ultimately what's going to happen is those ideas will return to their source. All those workbook lessons are all in level 2. All level 2. And that's why people can't do level 2. Is because they're staying on level 1 and they're trying to bring these ideas down into level 1 to embrace them. You can hold them for a little while. You can sit around every Sunday and talk about how wonderful the course is, because people use the course as a coping mechanism. It makes them feel good. They don't want to do what's in the course, but they want to sit around because it makes them feel good. It's a holy book after all, like, you know. It's supposed to make you feel good. So, here's one that has come up, and this is so important, right? See on level 1, here, it's a fact that you must choose. There's no place for I don't care. Someone asks you, do you want to go to the movies? I don't mind. Okay, let's go. What do you want to see? I don't care. All right, let's go. And then you come out, and then 10 minutes later, that film was crap. I wish we had stayed in the house. You see, as that person saying, no, they don't care. You see, they did care. But all they're waiting for is for you to make the decisions. And when you make the decisions, that person's going to judge them as good or bad or right or wrong. And you're taking it on. you're letting this person off the hook. So you're setting yourself up for this person to judge you, and then you're going to judge them for it. There's no place for don't care. It's a setup. It's either yes or no, right or wrong, or good or bad. It's kind of like, what do you think of this person? I don't really care. It's a lie. You've already made your judgment. You don't want to put them in the bad room. You don't want to admit that you're a bad person yourself. You want to think yourself a good person. So rather than condemning this person, I'm going to abstain. This is what all the people here, all the great spiritual people in the world now, they're all abstaining. So, I have no opinion on this, and I have no opinion on that. Bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit. Doesn't exist. You do care. You're just covering it up and you're hiding it. So the next time that someone asks you a question and you say don't care, just wait till you see what happens after that. You'll do it, and other people will do it. But other people who will do it to you are setting you up.
So where does it fit in the idea of not taking sides then?
The point here is on level 1, you have to.
Yeah, but what I mean is that if you're genuinely attempting to let go of attachments and what have you,
Yeah.
and in the moment you can see, that it's like this game has got, let me just say it's like a football match,
Yeah.
in essence. And one team wants to win. And the thing is, their supporters and the people playing there and all the people connected with each team are treating that as if it's really, really, really important. And because I'm not particularly interested, I don't take sides. I said, well, I don't have an opinion.
No,
So, are you saying that that's the same as I don't care?
doesn't exist. There's no place in level 1 for you not to have an
you're
opinion.
missing the point. The point is like, in understanding that level 1 is the ego level, and that this is the way the game is played in life,
Yeah.
and that we're continually being, you can turn on a radio at any point in the day on any channel and listen for 30 seconds. There's a pretty good chance there'll be some good room, bad room stuff going on. So understanding this is and realizing, okay, that I'm asking for help and guidance because I know that, okay, the ego is very powerful, but the Holy Spirit is more powerful. And then coming from that place and saying, okay, well, I just see this with the game that it is, and I'm not taking sides.
Yeah.
And knowing that you're coming from that place. That's a different place.
Yes. Because now you're coming from.
Now, admittedly, I can understand, okay, I'm being sucked back into this, like you're saying, well, and then I catch myself doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an opportunity for me to realize that I'm being hooked in this ego dualistic split mind game.
I'm not saying about, what I'm talking about in the average run-of-the-mill person that you would meet in your ordinary relationships. You might ask, do you want chips or do you want this or whatever? And they'll say, I don't care. And then you get this, they'll either put the chips in the good room or the bad room. And you along with it because they're handing the responsibility for you over to choose, and they're basically saying, I'm true to you, okay, which is always a setup. What I'm talking about, and I think this is what you're talking about, is where you start saying no. That's the side that you're picking. Okay, when you start saying no to the persona, now you're caring. Okay, you don't care about both sides anymore.
No.
You're looking at the full picture here. You know that by saying no now to the persona, I'm saying no to the shadow. Isn't that right? So it's a different interpretation of the whole plan. But you're on a journey because you're going towards the truth. And you know this is the part of the journey that'll take you in that truth.
Well, in effect, because of the tools you've given us, there's an understanding about the structure of this game.
Exactly.
And how it's played.
Exactly.
So therefore, as a result of that, you can step out of the game and observe what's going on.
Exactly, and that's when you start to say no. But what I'm talking about here is the ordinary just person in the street, the ordinary person who's spiritually asleep.
But this is the thing that I see, because you had said in the past that forget about 3, 4, and 5. But basically 1 and 2 are the levels at which this game is played.
Yeah.
If you can get to level 2, which everyone can,
Yeah.
that's fine. Staying there is what the problem is. You get sucked back in, but you realise you're being sucked back in. It seems to me, in the moment I realised I've been sucked back in, now I've actually stepped out of it.
But that's the
But then-
tool that you should be looking for,
Pardon?
to get sucked back in again. That's what I'm looking for all my students to do.
To be sucked
Oh
back in.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
because it's the one single thought. Let's say at that point there's 10 thoughts left to get 10 corrections. So the whole point of this, that student is not going to get to level 3 without finding those last 10 thoughts. Those 10 thoughts are going to be pulled in to stories and dramas. And I have the ability at the moment when someone tells me a story and a drama that I can see the metaphysics in it. And that's what I'm going to be teaching all my students and people who are doing the teacher's course to see the metaphysics, because that's the vision that Jesus is calling for. Once you can see the metaphysics, then you're out of the drama and the story.
And I do recognise there would be times like when sort of like, oh, I spotted again, there's a kind of a smugness there. Well, actually, I'm just straight away into the good reminder.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
something like, I've got that sort of thing. But basically, I've just been something.
Yeah. So the point here, anyway, is at this level, to be honest, you have to choose, because when you don't choose, you're not taking responsibility. When you do not take responsibility at level 1, you will get hurt. Okay? It's a fact that as long as you remain on level 1, you will always be in conflict with either yourself or another, unless you deny it, as long as you remain on level 1. And the way we deny our conflict is we keep ourselves distracted. We find a relationship, we find a hobby, we find a mission, we find a goal, we find something to keep our mind off this internal war. The other thing, it's a fact that choice does not exist at this level, because discernment is always between good and bad and right and wrong. It's never between what is true and what is illusion. Okay? To the ego, a truth is always a rationalization. Okay? And what is a rationalization? A rationalization is an external justification for an internal problem. So if I'm feeling very angry and I'm blaming you, I'm rationalizing my anger. And that's what everybody's doing in this world. So choice does not exist at this level because there's no truth at this level. You can only have choice when you have a choice of choosing something that's real. So at this level, like Totally wrote in The Power of Now, I like to know that there's no choice. But what you do have, that I wrote in my book, is you have the illusion of a choice. That's what the ego offers at this level, that there's no choice. It's a fact that no seeker has ever found enlightenment. And no seeker will ever find enlightenment, because the seeker is the ego. The ego's motto is seek and never find. And there's many in spirituality today who can testify to that. The ego will not accept level 2 thoughts into its own thought system. These thoughts will be affected out sooner or later, as we just discussed. It's a fact that the shadow and the persona are blood brothers. Like Eckhart wrote on the Power of Now, was the chief of police and the thief. Well, here's the thief and here's the chief of police, and they're both the same person. These can't be separated, and that's what everybody's trying to do in spirituality today. Trying to get rid of the shadow, heal the problems with their parents or with God or whatever, but what they're really doing is saying, I want to keep my persona. Okay? It's a fact that when you say no to the persona, you say no to the shadow, which means that you're literally now doing the one thing that the ego never wanted you to do, which was saying no to the entire ego thought system. Saying no to the shadow is not saying no to the ego. Okay? Ego loves it. Ego would love it if you spent all day, every day, working with your shadow. Because you're fueling more and more and more. The shadow will keep getting filled up. You can let it out today and go back next week and let more out, and the following week let more out and more out, and you'll think, wow, I'm getting great things here. I'm feeling even better and better. What's feeling better and better is your persona, not you. All right? And what's going to happen is you're going to basically, all of that energy you're putting into the shadow, wow, it's going to hit you right between the head. eyes someday, you know, because what you give is what you receive. It's a fact. It's a fact that on level 1, all happiness comes from you getting exactly what you want in any given moment. And it's also a fact that you will be deeply unhappy and sad when you do not get what you want. It's a fact that you are not you on level 1. It's a bit obvious. It's a fact that there are only 2 emotions on level 1, guilt and fear. It's a fact that you will experience both these emotions unless you find good attachments, good distractions, a special relationship. But then they all go haywire sooner or later. It's a fact that you will only hear the voice of the ego. Why? Because this is the ego thought system. It's kind of like when you turn on, you know, Today FM or whatever, you'll hear all the presenters of 2FM. You'll hear what 2FM wants you to hear. You need to turn the dial to hear a different station. But the problem is we have only one dial at this level. For us to change the dial, we need to change. As long as, it's a fact that as long as you remain on level 1, you're a slave to time. The shadow will slow time down almost to a stop. And then when you're having good times in the persona, time will speed up. Why? Because the persona would rather you experience more pain than happiness. Isn't that so? All the happy times in your life, what did all happen? They're all over before you know it. All the dark times in your life, I was in my dark night of the soul for 10 years and it seemed like 1,000 years. And that's no joke. So, again, Eckhart Tolle talks about time and the power of now. I haven't got to that section, but we'll get to it. So, there's many facts in here. I'll email these to you, Kevin. I'll give you a full on them. But what I want to talk about now, just to finish up, is the facts of relationships. And the point of this is when 2 people go into a relationship, they're really, really confused immediately. What happens when 2 people goes into a relationship? What's really happening on the metaphysical level?
You're meeting your own vibration.
Well, let's... Here you have this person. Here you have 2 people coming together. Not a very good drawing, but you get the picture. Right, when 2 people come together, what's the most obvious and striking thing that you can see there?
Love.
What?
Split.
Shadow.
When 2 people coming together, what's
Show the
happening?
best
It
side
just
to
seems
each
a
other.
nice bit.
No, you have 2 halves coming together. Okay? You have 2 personas coming together. Go on to any dating site. All right?
Or my son, when he met his girlfriend, said, "There's not a bad bone in her body."
Exactly. Exactly. Was that true?
No, the opposite.
Well, leave him to find that out for himself. He needs that. But basically what happens here is you have 2 people coming together, the 2 best sides coming here, 2 personas coming together. And remember, the persona is the ego. And what's happening is 2 egos are joining in this special union of love here. Okay? And what's really happening is 2 people are coming here and they're both of them cheating, lying, deceitful, and dishonest. Isn't that true? Anybody like to disagree with me? Go onto a dating site, look at all the profiles.
Well, on the dating site, we're always looking for someone special.
Yeah, but is there any shadows up there? Not a single shadow. So all the personas. So when you meet someone, you're going to tell them, "Oh, I love the music, and I'm cultured, and you know, and I love this, and I love that, and I love this, and I love that." So now this person is seeing everything in this other person, all right, with the love in themselves, and they want to be close to that, and they don't want the shadow anywhere near. So metaphysically, this is what happens when two people come together in any relationship. Okay? But it doesn't have to be a love relationship, it can be any form of relationship. But where this is really more the game, as Kevin has played out in the special relationship. If you really want to get into the game, then find yourself a special relationship and get into the game. So you have one already. Okay. So here, basically, yeah, I was doing the facts, wasn't I? Here, there, yeah. Let's figure. So, it's a fact that when two people come together in a relationship, both will be seeking something from each other. What is it? Specialness. It is a fact that if you, the seeker of love, being the persona, enter a relationship seeking love, you will either self-sabotage or feel that the other person has sabotaged this relationship because it's a part of the two groups. Okay? Everything that you do with the ego and the persona, the shadow will sabotage it. It'll get you to sabotage it, or you'll feel that the other person has sabotaged it. And this happens with all things that you do with the ego. Sooner or later, they'll all fall apart, they'll go wrong. Okay? And the ego needs this to go wrong because it needs as much energy from you. The fact is, the sabotager is the shadow, which was created by the persona, which was you engaging the seeker to seek for love, and now you pay the price, which is always paid. It is a fact that you will embrace the persona in yourself first. And Eckhart talks about this in the Power of Now, which means that for you to embrace the persona, you must deny the shadow. Alright? Which means that the other person's going to do exactly the same because you've chosen this other person to be in a relationship. Aye. So what happens to shadow now? It's a fact that each of these two people will project their shadow on to the other. Isn't that so? It is a fact that you will rationalize every emotion you experience in every single relationship you have. Because remember, on level 1, there's no truth. What's truth? It's a rationalization. So when you rationalize your negative emotions, you keep them. When you rationalize your positive emotions, you lose them. The ego wins in every situation. And you do this in your relationships. It's a fact that while you're on level 1, that every single relationship you have is conditional. Isn't this so? Why do we make our relationships conditional? Anybody? Why do we put conditions on people that we love? We're looking for surety from them, aren't we? We want to be sure this person is going to be in our life, isn't it? I'm going to put time and effort into you, and I want to make sure that you're going to hang around. So it's kind of like the bank is giving you some money here, £1 million. And they're going to put conditions on this, aren't they? Why? They need surety. They need to know they're going to get their money investment back. So when you go into a special relationship with someone, you're going to be investing time and energy with this person, aren't you? Is that true? Yeah. But who's getting the time and the energy? Exactly. And you don't know that. You see, the ego, once you make anything conditional, then all energy goes to the ego. This is why it's so hard for people to have unconditional relationships. Because in an unconditional relationship, there's no conditions and there's total trust. There's total honesty. There's total belief. There's no energy going to the ego now. So the ego needs conditions. And here's the other thing, is let's say, and this is important, let's say that I get all my conditions and sureties met. What does that mean now? You know, I sit back and I have the easy life of it. Now, I can be an asshole. You know, I'm married now, like, you know, she can't leave me. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get good warning if she does leave me, like, you know. And I can, you know, push here as far as I want now. In other words, what's happening is the more conditions, the less responsibility. You see, in an unconditional relationship, here's what happens. You're in the present moment every single moment. You're like going 150 miles an hour on a bike. All right? Motorbike. And the thing about motorbikes is motorbikes bring you into the present moment like nothing else. Why? Because you know in 1 second you could be stone dead. They're that dangerous. That's why, you know, skydiving, all those dangerous mountain climbing, all of this, basically they bring people into the present moment. You go onto a busy motorway, you'll be present in that motorway. You go onto a country road on a good day, the hood open, your mind will be a million miles away. So in relationships, a true relationship is this, that the person that you're with could walk out the door in a second flat. There's no conditions. There's no surety. It's totally unconditional. A person could do anything at any moment. Who wants to live like that? Who could live like that?
And you can only do that if you're fully connected.
Exactly.
So you let go of all the
Yeah.
attachments.
Exactly. But it's a mindset that's very frightening to a lot of people because they need this surety, they need these conditions. Why? Because I don't want to take fucking responsibility. Because I can be an asshole some days, I can do this some days, I can do that some days. You see, when you meet someone at the beginning in this love, everything right, you're a good boy. Oh boy, you're working hard, you're taking responsibility every second. Do you know? Why? Because you know you have to be at the top of your game because this is someone you really, really like. But what's really happening another way, you're trying to get this person to be needy and dependent on you as soon as possible. Why? Because I can't stand taking responsibility every day with this person. I don't know if this person's going to be here tomorrow. How am I going to feel? You know? But if you truly want to live life, you know, have an unconditional relationship with someone that you really love. And that'll bring you into the present moment. And you'll see then that everything on level one was bullshit. How did you, making these conditions, actually deprived you of the love, deprived you of the peace in a relationship, the joy in a relationship? Because once you put conditions in, you're never sure of anything in the relationship. Why? Because on level one, you're split. You'll always have the other person in the good room or the bad. They'll always be doing something that's right or wrong. And here's the way it also works too is, and this is a fact, for everything to do right, they're going to do something wrong. You can't avoid it. Do you see? And now you're going to praise them when they do something good. Don't praise people when they do something good. You know, I hate it when people praise me for doing something good because some other asshole comes up and reminds me of my boss. It has to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you know, these are facts of life. And if you're going to be in this world, at least know the fucking rules of the world. Know the facts. If you're going to be in a relationship, know the facts. Every relationship, there's metaphysics. There's coping mechanisms, there's projections, there's defenses, there's attachments. There's things I like, there's things I don't like. Things I don't like, I'm going to blame them on you. Things I do like, I'm going to take the credit for them. Or I'll give it to you sometime. Do you know? You know, these are facts.
So it keeps you like you're polarized, up and down, up and down.
Exactly. Not knowing the facts of life, not knowing what relationships are, not knowing what this is when you meet someone on the street. See, everybody here is only half. Ever talks about it. That when two people come together, that they feel half, they feel there's something missing. But the part that's missing is the shadow. But it's not even them either. They're in this body is connected to this mind, and it's the mind that's feeling all of these things. And basically we think it's us in the body that's experiencing this. It's something to do with us, it's not. Do you know? Everything's got to do with the ego. So there's facts on relationships. How have we fixed for time?
4:10.
Right. So I'm not going to go through all of these facts. If anybody wants them, you can send me an email, right? Because they keep going and you need to really sit down and go through these because there's a lot of them. So you can see now why this book is such a complicated book. But you see all the facts, all the strategies, all the rules and everything, it's all about level 1. So it's not that complicated, you know, to learn all of this. Because this is how the ego works. Here's another fact. It is a fact, if you do not love yourself, you cannot love another. And basically at this level, is there anybody that can say, I love myself? No. And we're all trying to love other people and saying, I love you. You're lying, you don't love them. It's impossible. You can only give what you already have. And if you don't have love, how can you give love to anybody? Again, it's manipulation. Everybody's doing this in relationships. And then the most comical thing is when someone says, I don't love you anymore. As if they fucking loved you in the first place. Do you know? But this is so painful now, do you know, that this person doesn't love me anymore. As if, you know, you can turn love on and off.
Like a consumer love.
Yeah. Do you know, it's crazy when you look out into the world and see it all being played out. You know, look at any film, look at it, you'll see. Here's a film, and if you get a chance to watch it this week, right? And it's everything that I'm talking about. It's called Revolver. Jason Statham's in it. Jason Statham, you'll love him. And his film starts off, and he finds himself in prison between a con man and a trickster. Who's the con man and who's the trickster? Who do you think? Jason's, just to give you an idea, Jason's in prison. All right, everything in that was prison. He's between a con man and a trickster. Do you know what I mean? Like, the film is basically all my teachings. It's the shadow, it's the persona, you'll see it. If you read it, you'll see all the metaphysics, you'll see the projections, you'll see all the reactions, you'll see the coping mechanisms. It's a brilliant film.
How to spell his surname?
Statham? You're asking a
Well,
dyslexic, dysgraphic, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, you know, I never thought you were that cruel.
I'm sorry.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't do that.
But
I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy.
I couldn't get the surname.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just do some more facts and then we'll finish up. It's a fact that on level 1, if you believe that the other person is a good person, that they can make you happy and love you, then that person sooner or later will cause you pain. A lot of pain. Because all you're doing here is you're putting your belief into the person being good and right for you, and you're asking for the ego, love, which is really pain. That's what Jesus says in the Course. You're very confused of what's good for you and what's bad for you. You're very confused of what's, what love is and what love is not. And what you think is really good for you is really bad for you, and what you think is really bad for you is really good for you. What he's talking about is unconditional and conditional love. Okay? We think love in this world is brilliant and everybody's going to find it sooner or later. But the motto of the ego is seek and never find. Okay? So everybody that's seeking for love will never find it. They'll find it basically for a brief period of whatever they believe it to be, but it's gone again then. And then they go searching again, and then it's gone again. And then they go searching again, and it's gone again. Or maybe you're in a relationship, but now you're seeking for enlightenment. Now you're seeking for understanding. Now you're seeking for peace. You're still seeking. You know, it doesn't make any difference whether you're seeking for love or seeking for enlightenment or seeking for, anything. The seeker, full stop, is basically the ego. So in all relationships, we're seeking for something from the other person. And the moment you seek from anything, from anybody, you're basically hitting yourself over the back of the head with a hammer. And I could come in there and say, wake the fuck up, but it would be too perfect. Because that's what a hammer will do, like, you know. It's a fact on level 1 in your relationships, as long as you defend yourself, you will be attacked. Isn't that right, Sharon?
Mm-hmm.
It's a fact that on level 1 in your relationships, you will see all people as either good or bad, or right or wrong, innocent or guilty. It's a fact that in all your relationships, sooner or later you will feel abandoned, betrayed, jealous, rejected, used, and feel that you were never good enough. It's a fact that you will ride a roller coaster of emotions in all of your relationships. You will have ups and you will have downs. It is a fact that you will need to feel special in your relationships and demand a lot of attention. Either you or the other, your partner. It is a fact that you are attached to the thoughts that you project onto your relationships. That in your relationships is the key to your awakening. Because in the dramas and the stories of your relationships, Jesus talked about the peril, and those perils are the thoughts that's in the story. Your job is to get into the metaphysics and find out what the metaphysics show you. The metaphysics will show you to the truth. You will see it yourself in the metaphysics. But you can't see the metaphysics if you're caught up in the story of who's right and wrong, who's good and bad. Are you picking the victim or are you picking the victimizer? Stay the fuck out of the story. Get to the metaphysics. The metaphysics are the symbols which will show you the truth. And when you see the truth of any story, you're free. That's what Jesus meant. The truth will set you free. It's a fact that on level 1, in any of your relationships, will reflect back to you exactly how you see yourself at that given moment. And how you see yourself will tell you which level you're on. It is a fact that as long as you remain attached to level 1, which means you're attached to the ego, in a single relationship, you will return, which means you will experience death. And we know there is no death. Death means you come back again. Simple as that. Why? Because you're gone to level 2, and now you're coming back again, because these thoughts must return to their source. I want to finish up quickly. I'm just going to run through these quickly because you all know them and all done them. And they're called responsibilities. And this is the last pillar of the 4 pillars of Genesis. The 4 pillars of Genesis. You see, people could look at this and say, okay, that's just basically a whole rank of words and names and concepts and stuff like that. It is all of that. That's the map. The entire course, all of the courses in this. You can take any word out and put it in there. But what the courses also has, it has rules, is the first pillar. The second pillar is the strategies. The third pillar is the facts. And the fourth pillar is the responsibilities. And here are the responsibilities. Okay? And I start this one off. I was asked a question by someone. And the question was, am I completely they were asked, they had a problem and they were taking responsibility for this. And I said to them, how did you take responsibility? And this is what they said. They said, I am completely responsible for my feelings of blaming myself, guilt, and fear as if I have done something wrong. Is this taking true responsibility? It's very clever, the way it's done.
Could you read it again?
I am completely responsible for my feelings of blaming myself, guilt, and fear as if I have done something wrong.
The as if sort of
Yeah,
changes.
they're still
They're
busy
not taking
blaming themselves.
responsibility.
And all they're doing is recognizing I'm blaming myself, but they're still blaming themselves, which is a rationalization. Because remember, you in the body is still outside yourself. That's why everything's a rationalization in the ego thought system. The ego wants you to believe that the body's real. So when you take responsibility, you're coming from truth. It's not, you see, the body is an illusion of your reality, and you in the body is not you, it's the ego thought system. So that means when you take responsibility, you're not taking anything truth. You're rationalizing, because the body's outside you. So here are the list of responsibilities. So this is what I said. Is this taking true responsibility? Answer, no. This is not taking responsibility, this is a rationalization. True responsibility without blame is what you need to find. But she's on level 1, not ready for level 2, so what's she responsible for? You are responsible for your projections, your reactions, and your judgments. Why? Because you're choosing to remain on level 1. So here are a list of 9 responsibilities, or maybe the more than this, I give to this person. The first thing about responsibility is this, is you are responsible for empowering you. Yeah? You see, you're already empowered by the ego, and the ego has a lot of tools, coping mechanisms, and defenses, yeah? And we're using them all. And that means we're using, basically like you would hire a broadband server, like say Aircom or Virgin Media. Okay, so you're paying Virgin Media, you're paying them energy, you're paying them money, and you're using the service. So this is what we're doing with the ego. We're using the ego's tools, which means we're paying the ego to use its services. Clint, you're actually paying to make yourself feel shit. How does that make you feel? You're paying a heavy price to it. You know, that's what everybody's doing. So you're responsible for new tools. You're responsible for knowing the complete separated self. Here, the ego right mind, the persona, and the shadow. You're responsible for knowing the entire persona of all the attributes that's in it. You're responsible for knowing the thoughts that you're attached to in the persona. You're responsible for applying forgiveness every day. Are you? You're responsible for knowing your projections. Do you know that? So when you react to something, John, do you know what you're projecting? Find out. Because then you're doing the course. The moment you're not doing the course, you know, all you're doing is reading the words over and over again to make yourself feel good, special. Remember, the course was written in such a way that Jesus brought in all the egos because the course made them feel special. So you need to get out of that. If you can get into the metaphysics now, you'll rise above that. You'll get to level 2 through the metaphysics. So you're responsible for all your reactions. Are you detaching from your reactions, or are you stopped reacting? John, you've stopped reacting. It's all right. You had to go through what not to do before you get to, you know, that's the way we all do it, you know. You are responsible for not using your persona. In other words, you have to say no to the persona. You're responsible for empowering your personality. And how you empower your personality is you say no to the persona. You're responsible for knowing ATF and applying it. You're responsible for knowing complete forgiveness and its application. You're responsible for knowing self-empowerment. These are all the tools. Do you know it? You're responsible for taking responsibility. So it's your responsibility to know the rules, to know the strategies, to know basically the facts and the responsibilities. Why? Because it's this. You're about to enter into the greatest game that you've ever played. And most people are going in with nothing. They have no tools. And the ego has all the tools. The ego has all the ammunition. The ego has all the advantages. The ego knows how does everything work in the system. And you don't have anything. And the whole point of this is, and this is what happens with my students, and I want to just say this about forgiveness. When you apply forgiveness at this level, you're applying from here and you're trying to get rid of this. So you're causing a split, and a split, and a split. Okay, you think you're detaching from these thoughts, you are, but because you're still coming from here, you're putting in more. So that's all right. And all my students, I'm getting them to do this so they can practice forgiveness. Because they can see it. I want them to see their projections. I want them to know what they're projecting and what they're reacting to, so now they can begin the process. So when they get to 66% and the ego shuts down, I take them up to here. Now, this is where forgiveness comes into its own. Because now when you practice forgiveness here, you're detaching completely from the ego. When you apply forgiveness down here, you're splitting the ego in half. When you apply forgiveness from here, you're splitting the whole level 1, you're detaching from the whole level 1. And that's what has to be done, and that's where forgiveness should be applied. So when I'm working with my students on level 1, on class 1, the first thing that they learn is the empowerment tools, because they have to gear up. Because when they go in and go through this system, and they get to this point, and they don't know forgiveness, they're screwed. They're stuck. Because the only way you can detach from level 1 is through forgiveness, which really means detachment. But the only way you can detach from something is you must see the truth in it. Having pain and saying, take this away from me, or I don't want this anymore. Where's the pain coming from? What's the cause of it? That's what you need to find out. That's why now the journey and the next journey of all my students will be into the metaphysics. Out of the words, into the metaphysics. And it's easy to find the metaphysics. I'm going to be putting you on Facebook, John. Yeah. Are you with me on Facebook? No?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm going to be putting case studies in metaphysics up for people to work with this. And I'm going to be giving them guidelines how to basically see the metaphysics and so on. So if you're a member of Facebook, tune in the next couple of weeks, and I'll be putting up case studies after case studies, and I'll be showing the metaphysics in this. And the metaphysics are really about showing now people to get to level 2. Because it's here that the metaphysics, here's the truth. So if you don't get to the metaphysics, you're always going to be stuck in the stories and the dramas of this level. So that's basically, again, like I'll say to people, if anybody wants these, just send me an email and I'll send them to you. Okay then, folks, that's going to be it for today. Thank you very much.